It's Ian from RTO here. Hope you're all well. Welcome to Thursday on RTO. Thursday means it's a then and now show, and today our guests in the chair, as they say, are Genesis. Formed in 1967 from Charterhouse School by Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Peter Gabriel, Anthony Phillips. They pestered an old Charterhouse pupil, Jonathan King, who arranged them to record several singles and the debut album Genesis to Revelation in 1968, and they released it on the 7th of March 1969. And it was Peter Gabriel on vocals, flute, Tony Banks, Hammond organ, piano and vocals, backing vocals, Anthony Phillips on the guitars and backing vocals, Mike Rutherford on bass guitar and backing vocals, John Silver on drums, and Chris Stewart drummed on The Silent Sun, produced by Jonathan King himself. Okay, the first track, Where the Sour Turns Sweet. This is a very pastiche sort of track. Got some nice orchestral arrangements on it. Really good track. Then we get In the Beginning. Really good track. I love this one. Got a great bass line from Mike Rutherford. This is one of them tracks that really showed where they were going to go with their music. Really rocky in places. Excellent track. Fireside Song. A very good track. Great piano here from Tony Banks. Very solid, very good song. The Serpent. Another quirky track here. The vocal from Peter Gabriel is really good. Anthony Phillips' guitar playing is very soft and gentle. Very 60s soundtrack. Very good indeed. Am I wrong? I'm very wrong, sorry. Another track with some great piano from Tony. First time we hear Peter Gabriel playing the flute. Very good vocal as well. Really good song. In the Wilderness. Again, this is the start of the proggy sound, before prog was prog. Great drumming on this. Really good track. The Conqueror, yeah, it's one of them little 60s pop songs. Pretty good. In Hinding, I love Peter's vocal on this track. Some really good acoustic touches from Anthony Phillips on the guitar. Good guitar player. One Day, again a very pastiche piece of music with a great piano that drives this song. Really good. Window. It's not the best track on the album. It's probably the weakest one, in fact. It's okay, but I wouldn't write home about it. In Limbo, again, this shows what was going to come from Genesis. Very well put together, great bass work again, and a very decent track. Silent Sun, another good song, very commercial. It's got that pastiche Bee Gees feel to it. Not bad at all. And the last track, A Place to Call My Own. This track is really good. Strong lyrics, strong voice from Peter Gabriel, and you could see, listening to this, that he would carry on in this vein for the rest of his career. Absolutely top on the job on this track. Okay, this is truly an unforgotten little gem. Great fun production on it, and the persistence of Jonathan King and the band getting together to produce this little gem. I like it. Unfortunately, it didn't do much. They released a single. They released Where the Sour Turns Sweet. Didn't do much in the UK, but when the album was released in the US in '74, it actually peaked at 170 on the American Billboard that year. But prior to the release, I think this is the bit where the trouble was. Decca discovered that there was an American act also called themselves Genesis, and asked the band to change its name to avoid confusion. But Jonathan King made a compromise and said leaving the title written in gold text in Gothic order to create something different. Didn't, because it just actually went into the religious bin. The album in this country sold originally 150 copies. So, song quality on this. There are some very, very good songs. Most of it is written by Peter Gabriel. For such a young man, he had very good ideas. And for that reason alone, I will give it a 5 out of 5. Purely on that a 16, 17-year-old guy could write words like this. Fantastic. Production. In today's standard, it's not good, but when you think in the late 60s, the production of this is very, very good. Very, very clear. Everything's crystal clear. So I'll give it a 5 out of 5. Without a doubt. Reception. Doesn't matter that I like it. It's what everyone else thought, and it got absolutely panned. I don't think they promoted it very well at all, and I'm going to have to give it a 1 out of 5. So that gives from Genesis to Revelation an RTO ranking of 11 out of 15. Okay, let's get in that time machine. Go 28 years into the future to 1977. Calling All Stations, 15th album, released September 1997. The only album that featured Ray Wilson as the front man after Phil Collins left in 1996, but the remaining founders, Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford, were still there and decided they'd continue with the band and write some new music for an album. Features on the album a couple of drummers, Nick Zikodaru, an Israeli session drummer, and American drummer Nick DeVergo of the prog band Spock's Beard. Very, very different album. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did. So you got Tony Banks, Mike Rutherford, Ray Wilson, and the drumming split between Nick DeVergo and Nick Zahuhu, whatever. Not very good on pronunciations. Okay, first track is Calling All Stations. This is one of the best tracks on the album. Solid opening, great guitar work from Mike. It sounds brilliant. Great riff, great keyboards from Tony, and a superb guitar solo. Congo, quite a catchy lick to this. It's alright in places. Not my favourite track personally, but it's a strong track as a track. Shipwrecked, bit of a Wish You Were Here start, radio, then you get the sound of a guitar playing on the radio and then it goes into the track. Very radio friendly, FM rock style. It's okay, I suppose. Alien Afternoon. This actually sounds. They wrote a song that goes back to the, I would say, to the mid-70s style of Genesis. Really good track. Some nice keyboard runs in it from Tony. Good track. Then we get Not About Us. This is quite a like a love song type thing, and it's actually very good. Well, Ray Wilson sang very, very good on this. It's a nice song. If that's what you need, this sounds like leftovers from the We Can't Dance sessions. It may have been kicking around and they didn't use it, but they've used it here, and it's pretty good. Dividing Line, I like this one as well. Tony Banks' keyboard is brilliant on this. Nothing wrong with that track at all. Uncertain Weather. This is more something out of the Mike and the Mechanics stable and Genesis. Still a very good track though. Small Talk, don't like this one at all. It's a bit bizarre. It's like Who Done It off Abba Cab. It's a bit weird and no. There must be some other way. Goes on a little bit too long, this one. It sort of loses itself about 5 minutes in, and it doesn't know where to get off. The last track, One Man's Fool, is a good track. Nice keyboards again from Tony, really good. Personally, I think it's not a bad album. There's a lot of people said, "Oh, it's not Phil Collins, it's not Steve, it's not Peter Gabriel." Yeah, but it's you've got the two of the original members here, Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks. It's not all about Phil and Peter. And I think they did you've got to admire them for carrying on, and I think they did a half decent job. Okay, there's a few weak songs on the album, but there's a lot of strong songs as well. But the critics sort of slammed it. Steve Nopper from Chicago Tribune called it a formless blob of synth sounds, and asserting that the new singer Ray Wilson has no confidence or personality. Bit strong, I think, because if everyone had heard him sing Inside by Stiltskin, he sang that is a brilliant track. All Music and Rolling Stone though did compliment that Ray Wilson was a good fit, but lacking good material, and I think that's a bit harsh because there are some good songs on there. They did say Calling All Stations and Congo and Not About Us are good tracks. Rolling Stone described Shipwrecked as a pleasant generic FM rock tune. Tony Banks though, in an interview in 2019, thought the album contained some very good songs, good on him, but he did say that they left off two tracks that were a lot better than some of the tracks on there. He said that was a big mistake. Okay, they sort of toured and then it all came to a grinding halt. Song quality. There are some really strong songs on here. I mean, people forget that, Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford did write a lot of the Genesis stuff after Peter Gabriel left. But there are a couple of songs that are a bit weak, so I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Production, very well produced album, but they missed a trick with the vocals. I think I can see why they say that his vocal was lackluster in places. I think it was to do that it wasn't the production of his voice in the singing. Some of it was a little bit weak. They could have done something more to it. So for production, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Reception, mixed. Some of the critics thought it was alright, but a lot of the fans just didn't take to it, which is a shame. But we have got this mentality in this country of not liking change. This is UK, if you're watching it somewhere else, but in the UK we just don't like change. It's happened all through music history. There was a big hoo-ha when Peter Gabriel left Genesis. They got over it, but they never give poor old Ray a chance. I mean, the other classic example is, of course, Nightwish. No one will say they don't sound the same. You got what people got to remember though, that these bands are not just there for us for enjoyment. It's their work, it's their business, and shops don't shut down after their best manager ever leaves. You carry on. The reception, I can only give it a 2 because a lot of people slammed it. So that gives it a grand total of 10 out of 15, 1 mark short of generation, Genesis to Revelation. But the good news is things in between were good. And then in 1970, after signing to, was it? Can't even remember the name of the company. How daft's that? Bear with me 2 seconds. Charisma. That's it. Tony Stretton Smith. They had a lot of success. Started a bit shaky with Trespass. Very strong album though. Peter Gabriel, Anthony Phillips, Anthony Banks, Michael Rutherford and John Mayhew. Got some good tracks on this one. Looking for Someone's good. White Mountain's very good. Visions of Angels, it's okay. Stagnation, a really good solid track. Very proggy. Dusk, and then you get the brilliant Knife. I consider this the heaviest track that Genesis ever put down on vinyl. Then in 1971 they had a few changes. Anthony Phillips left, in came Steve Hackett. John Mayhew left, in came Phil Collins, and then you got that, what they call that classic lineup. The first album they brought out, 1971's Nursery Cryme. We had the Musical Box, which is a great track. I love the end piece to that. Still one of my favourite bits of that track. Then Phil Collins' first vocal on a Genesis album, the short but Absent Friends. Wasn't a strong vocal, but he did get better, of course. Then we have the brilliant The Return of the Giant Hodgeweed, one of my favourite tracks off the album. Then the very unknown Seven Stones, which is a very nice little song written by Tony Banks. Then we have the fun track of Harold the Barrel, written by Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins. You can see the fun side coming out in this. Then we have Harlequin, a really good little track. And then we have the fantastic The Fountain of Samalsis, one of my favourite tracks. Got a great keyboard solo from Tony Banks. Okay, then next up then was what we call the breakthrough album, really. 1972's Foxtrot. Watcher of the Skies. Love this track. Love that start. Very distinctive, and the mellotron, absolutely fantastic. Timetable, a nice little ditty. The great little track as well, Get 'Em Out by Friday. Some nice work in here. Great drumming from Phil on that. Really, really strong. Then we have the Can Utility and the Coastliners. One of them tracks that's never played. But Steve Hackett did a version of it on one of his tours, and it was great to hear that. Flip the album over, got the little instrumental Horizons, lovely piece of work written by Steve Hackett. And then we get the bombastic Supper's Ready, one of the true classics. Highlights of this song for me is Willow Farm. Superb track, love it to bits. Then came Selling England by the Pound, 1973. This is where they really got into the groove. Dancing with the Moonlit Night is a superb track, written for the time. Selling England by the Pound, fantastic guitar work from Steve Hackett in this, and then you got Tony Banks complimenting him on the keyboards. Then we get the quirky single I Know What I Like, total nonsense but ever so fun. Then we get probably one of the best guitar solos ever put down on a progressive rock track. We are talking, of course, of Firth V, Steve Hackett's finest piece of work. Superb song, superb arrangement, superb guitar solo. Then we get the nice Gentle Fool Me, before we go into another epic track, The Battle of Epping Forest. Then we get the little instrumental afterwards that just continues on with the vein of Epping Forest after the ordeal. Then of course we get the brilliant Cinema Show, one of Tony Banks' finest bit of keyboard work. Love that middle section, and towards the end, fantastic. And then we have the Isle of Plenty, and it sort of fizzles out into the end of Dance in the Moonlit Night. Really good song. Okay, then we come up with what they say is one of the best double albums ever produced. 1974's The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Opens up with the title track, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Really good song. Then we get the eerie Fly on a Windshield, the Broadway melody of 1974. Not a bad track. Cuckoo, Cocoon. Then we get the brilliant In the Cage. Love that live. Then we get that little ditty, The Grand Parade of the Lifeless Packaging. Back in NYC, another great track. Hairless Heart, Counting the Times Good. Carpet Crawlers, fantastic track. Chamber of the 32 Doors, White Lilith, Waiting Room, Anyway. Here Comes the Supernatural Anaesthetist. Then another beautiful song, The Lamia. Silent in the Sorrow of the Empty Boats, another good track. Colony of the Slippermen. Love that, especially the end bit. Ravine, The Light Lies Down on Broadway, Rapids, Riding the Scene, and It. Obviously after that, Peter wanted to go and do some other stuff, and they said it's either us or your solo stuff. So Peter left, started auditioning new singers, and they found out that Phil was singing it better than any of the people they'd got down to have a go. So Phil took over. Trick of the Tail came out in 1976. Starts off with the brilliant Dance on a Volcano. Great track. Then we get a good track called Entangled. Love that. Nice harmonies on this. Then the great Squonk, one of my favourite tracks by Genesis. Then we get the brilliant Madman Moon. Very underrated track. Then we get the quirky Robbery, Assault and Battery. Again, it's got one of the best keyboard runs that Tony Banks did. Then we get the beautiful Ripples, another harmony song, fantastic stuff. The quirky title track, Trick of the Tail, really good song, and then the instrumental Los Endos, fantastic. Busy year for Genesis in 76, because soon after they released Wind and Wuthering. This would be Steve Hackett's last album, and it produced some of his finest work. 11th Earl of Mar, really strong track. The brilliant one for the Vine, again I love the keyboards in this, it's superb. You Are in a Special Way, this was the start of the more commercial sound of Genesis, not particularly my favourite track. Then we get the little quirky What Gorilla, great drumming from Phil Collins. Then we get the enchanted In a Mouse's Night. Then we get the beautiful Blood on the Rooftops. This is my favourite track on this album. I love the lyric, I love the arrangement, superb song. Then we have a great little bit, and I've seen this bit live myself. You get the Unquiet Slumbers of the Sleepers, In That Quiet Earth, and Afterglow. Fine piece of music, fine end of an album. Okay then, so after that, Steve Hackett said, that's it, I'm off, and went on to pursue a fantastic solo career, as we've discovered. So the three of them carried on. So in 78 we had an album called And Then There Were Three. First track, Down and Out, really good track, love that. Again, Undertow's good. Ballad of Big, a good track. Snowbound, it's alright. Burning Rope's fantastic. Deep in Motherlode, one of my favourite tracks on here, all about the gold rush. Too many, bit commercial. Scenes from a Night's Dream, a short but quirky track. I do like Say It's Alright Joe, I think that's quite nice. Then we have the brilliant Lady Lies. And the end, the last track, Follow You, Follow Me. Not my favourite track. Next up was a fantastic album, 1980s Duke. Starts off with the Behind the Lines. Great song that is. We talked about it last week on Phil Collins when he did his version. They're both very good versions. Duchess, good track that is. Then we got guide vocal. Not the best track in the world. It's only short. Man of Our Times. Really, really good. Misunderstanding. No, I never like this, and I always skip it. I just don't like it. I don't know why. Heat Haze. Very good track. Turn It On Again. Good track, but if I don't hear it again, I won't get upset. Alone Tonight. That's a bit mediocre for me. Cul-de-sac. Nah, I can't get on with that track. Please Don't Ask. Self-indulgent Mr. Collins. But the highlight of this album is Duke's Travels and Duke's End. Fantastic. Next up was a total change in direction completely. 1981's Abacab. Abacab is a great track. Really is a good track. Love the drumming in this. No Reply at All. This should have been on a Phil Collins solo album, not a Genesis album, sorry. Horns, Phil Collins, yay. Genesis, no. Me and Sarah Drain, quite a nice little quirky song. Keep It Dark, that's alright. Dodo Lurker is superb. Still got that prog roots. Probably the best track on the album. Who Done It? Oh, it's terrible. Probably one of the worst tracks by Genesis. Man on the Corner. That's quite quirky. Would have been better on a Phil Collins album though. Like It or Not. It's not too bad. And Another Record. Bit meandering. Not particularly a favourite of mine. Okay, next up was Genesis in 1983. This contains a great track, Mama. Love this track. As most of us call it, In the Air Tonight Part 2. Then we get That's All. Love that song. Nice and quirky. Then we get Home by the Sea. Great track. Second Home by the Sea. Great. Lovely keyboard work from Tony Banks in this. Great drumming from Phil. Harks back to them good old days. And then we have side 2, which to me is not good at all. Illegal Alien. Oh, I just don't like that at all. Taking it too hard. Well, it's pleasant enough. Just a job to do. No. Silver Rainbow. It's not too bad. And I just don't like it's going to get better. Too dour. Next up, this is the tour I saw them on. The Invisible Touch album from 1986. Opening track, Invisible Touch. It's okay. Bit poppy for me. Tonight. Great track. Love all the little I'm not into electronic drums, but the bits of boo boo in this are really good. Fits the song very well. Then we get Land of Confusion. This is a classic. Great little song that is. Then we get In Too Deep, that bores me to tears. No room for that. Anything she does, it's quirky, but the best thing about this song is the video. I've put it in the playlist purely on that it features Benny Hill as Fred Scuttle. It's quite funny. They played this just before they came on stage and everyone enjoyed it. Then we do get one of the classic tracks, Domino. This is brilliant. Always love this track. I haven't seen it played live, but I think the best version I've got of this is on The Way We Walk the Lawns. The version on there is absolutely dynamite. Throwing It All Away, it's a good little crowd pleaser, but it's not my favourite song. Then we get the brilliant Brazilian, very underrated track. You know, it's in that Los Endos sort of feel, you know, bit slower, but a great track. Okay, then we come to the last album that Phil did with them in the studio, We Can't Dance, from 1991. No Son of Mine. Love that track. Great track. Jesus He Knows Me. Quirky, fun track. Having a dig at American evangelism. Driving the Last Bike. This is one of my favourite songs by the band. Pays homage to the railway navvy. Being a bit of a railway buff and railway historian, this means a lot to me. And it's nice that they pay tribute to some great workers. I Can't Dance. Nah, I don't like this. I must be the only person that don't. Never the Time. That's quite a little quirky track. Then we get the brilliant Dreaming While You Sleep. Just love that. Tell Me Why. Pretty good. Living Forever. I've never been a fan of that. But Hold On to My Heart. It must be the most dreariest song ever written. Not just by Genesis. It just doesn't do anything for me. The Way of the World, quite a quirky. Since I Lost You, again, not a bad track. And Fading Lights is just superb. Tony Banks on this is just electrifying. So there's there is Genesis history in a nutshell. Yeah, they've done you know, it's a shame that they'll never, their last and first album was forgotten and everyone thinks about the ones in the middle. They had an up and down career music wise. I still like them. I've got a friend that went to see them last night in Birmingham, and bless her, she's going to do me a little report, and she said you can tell all the people on the channel about it, and I'll be interested to what she has to say about the show. That's all for this one. Next up will be my random singles, pulling them out the bag, looking at their covers and ranking them. Then we got the update, and then tomorrow is live ranking day. I love that show. Tomorrow we're looking at the Powerhouse 3 from Canada Rush, and then tomorrow, also staying on that Genesis theme, we are going to be reviewing Steve Hackett's new album Surrender in Silence. So that's all to come for the rest of the week. We've got the update. You'll find out what we're doing next week. For now, I will say bye bye.